Order, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the October 9th meeting of the Rhinebeck Village Board. First item on the agenda is our county legislator, Joel Tyner. Joel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I come bearing gifts. One for everybody. One for everybody. One for everybody.
You've outdone yourself, Joel.
There you go. Well, I was honored to be part of that little tete-a-tete soiree meeting, brouhaha, gab fest, whatever you want to call it, a week or two ago with the gentleman from Cornell. I can't remember his name, but I've done quite a bit of research over the last 4 years into best practices, and I just wanted to share with you all. There are about 100 communities all across the country that are doing food waste composting, where the food waste is collected curbside. For instance, in Portland, Oregon, they found that they were able to eliminate 40% of the residential garbage that way, and that the food scraps cost 43% less to haul away. And so it's not just sort of a clean, green, let's save the earth. It's a moneymaker. It saves tax dollars. So please take a look at all the stuff that I handed out. For instance, in Toronto, they don't collect the garbage weekly anymore. They collect the garbage once every 2 weeks. And that's because they collect the food scraps weekly. So you can see there's a lot of information there. Food waste, if you look at the food scraps and the paper that's soiled by food, that's about 1/3 of the waste stream. So, and again, some of the information I gave you, Royal Carting works hand in hand with McEnroe Farms. We talked about Shabazz Jackson, greenwayny.com, 656-6070, but you could have a real win-win. And what they've found, I wasn't even aware, actually, frankly, until just an hour or two ago, that the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency is now accepting food scraps. So you guys can sort of help me or, sort of push to do the right thing. Why isn't the Dutchess County Resource Recovery Agency doing that? And what they're finding on that side of the river is the same thing that I found here over the last several years. Some of the big institutional producers, the school district, the fairgrounds, a nursing home, the hospital, they're interested because it's a clean, green thing. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. You may have seen in the papers for many years, but just in the last month, the Dutchess County Criminal Justice Council came out with their recommendations. If you actually read the report, on page 24, it talks about over 80% of the people inside the county jail have substance abuse or mental health issues. And it also talks on page 18 of the report about how the town of Poughkeepsie has a pretrial release program. State of the art, really needs to be expanded countywide. So I'm trying to figure out why some people are pushing for a $126 million 500-bed jail. If over 80% of the people inside our jail have substance abuse or mental health issues, I'm not exactly sure that a $126 million 500-bed jail is what's in order. And I'm not going to take too much of your time tonight. I got to head to the Clinton Town Board meeting. But again, real quickly, in Newark, New Jersey, they cut the recidivism rate from 65% to 3% with a fraternity for dads behind bars. We don't have that here. New York Times 3 or 4 years ago did an editorial about Brooklyn, the common alert system reentry, really supports folks once they get out of jail and prison so they don't recidivate. They cut the recidivism rate in half. We don't have that here. There's a lot, and also we don't have a YMCA, we don't have a YWCA, we don't have a Green Teen Community Gardening Program for the kids in the city of Poughkeepsie, we don't have a Project Return program at the County Youth Bureau. There's a lot of things that we used to do for the kids to make sure they don't get mixed up in the system. So if you care about the size of your county property tax bill, I urge you to get involved. I've launched a petition online at change.org to stop the Dutchess County Jail expansion. Also, there's a lot of stuff in the papers over the last week or two. Tomorrow night is the monthly full board meeting of the county legislature, and I urge you all to come and speak out about whatever might be on your mind. $1.76 million to demolish the Nelson House. I'm not sure that's a wise expenditure of funds. If you saw Sunday's Poughkeepsie Journal editorial, Holly Wahlberg, longtime historian, One of the things she did not mention in that editorial is that she read the architect's report, and the engineering report finds that the building is still structurally sound. Lucky Platt, a lot of buildings, the old City Hall in Kingston, the Kirkland Hotel in Kingston, there's a lot of buildings right here in the Hudson Valley that were abandoned for decades. And we're, instead of putting it on the market, which according to the City of Poughkeepsie Preservation Commission and the law, you're supposed to, put it, see if anybody in the private sector is willing to purchase it, that hasn't been done. And we, the taxpayers, are being forced to pay $1.76 million to level it to the ground, even though FDR spoke before 10,000 people, 1936 there. Election night, 1940, he spoke to 20,000 people. And so I'm not sure exactly that's the wisest expenditure of funds. It's $1.76 million. So no matter how you feel about that, I urge you to show up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. And I am also doing a forum, one of my monthly forums. If you want to come and complain or give me ideas about any of these issues, it's going to be Monday, October 29th, across the street at Rhinebeck Town Hall at 6 o'clock. That's Monday, the 29th of this month, 6 o'clock. Thanks for your patience. I got to run for the Clinton Town Board meeting. See you later. Questions? Call me 876-2488.
Thanks, Joel.
Yep.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Thompson Mazzarella Park Committee. Sally and Bob are here to speak with us this evening.
Okay, well, good evening. I'm just going to give you a little update as to where we're at right now in the planning process, and Bob's going to walk you through the project. Many of you are familiar with it, and some of you, don't have all the detail. But I think one of the things we're so pleased about is that we have finally gotten to the point where we're before the Town Planning Board and the Village Planning Board. We have been working on engineering over the past year. Many of you know that it took us over a year and a half to get through the archaeological work. Working with SHPO, that a major portion of the park, this area in here, was designated as being significant in terms of extraordinary finds of over 5,000 years old. So the artifacts are really something that are special to the community. So that area has to be protected in terms of not doing any real construction in that area. But it took a lot of time, it took a lot of money, it cost a little over $100,000 to go through all of that work and fulfill the obligations that the state requested from us. So after that, we began to look at the areas that were suitable for development and do some redesign and, finalize some of the plans for the park. We have been working with Weston and Sampson, an engineering company, and we're very fortunate that two of the people that are working with us are local people. So they put in a lot of extra time because they use the library and they use our recreational facilities. So they feel it's something close to home, so they're being very, very helpful. But all of that work has been submitted to both planning boards. On October 15th, there is a public hearing, and one of the things we had asked for was perhaps a joint public hearing between the village and the town. I'm not sure if that has happened. I haven't seen the papers the notices that have gone out. You don't think they have, Jim? Okay, so then, if it's not going to work that way, then we'll do whatever the village is.
This board hasn't acted to
No,
notify anybody of a public
the
hearing.
village planning board. So it would have been the village planning board.
I haven't seen anything on it.
Okay. So we'll work through that. That's our responsibility. But we really thought it was important for both the town board, and we haven't done the town board meeting, and the village trustees be brought up to date. I know that, Howie is at 99% of all of our meetings, so he is certainly up to date on all the activities and is very active in participating in every aspect of the planning process. So I think Bob could kind of walk you through the plan. I'll probably give you some numbers in terms of what things are costing for Phase 1, and then answer any questions you have.
Okay, basically, this is the basic design of it. There have been some changes made to it. Number one, the entrance to the park will be here. The entrance that is in by the library will be completely closed off. The reason for that is the state DOT did not want two entrances to the park. They said we could have one or the other, and this one, the new one that's going to be done, has a better line of sight, so they were happy with the way it was. That's been submitted to the DOT and has been approved by the DOT.
Maybe if you could sort of stand back
Nope.
as you're doing that, so that way people hear and...
Okay. Okay, the road comes actually down through, and it'll come down through, and it goes right into the parking lot as it does today. The old road will be dug up, that goes up to the library. The library has asked for a walkway up to the library, and we thought maybe this was one way of doing the walkway, is when we take up the blacktop and everything, narrow it down and make it a walkway. That way, people, when the parking lot is full up here, they can park down here and walk up to the library. The actual rotation around the library, because of where we're coming in with the crossover to the library entrance, is going to make the path this way around it. Currently it's this way, it's going to change to that way around it. Okay? The library is well aware of it, they're for it, they don't have a problem. In fact, the only thing they asked of us is they want the stones here so they can fill their entrance in there, so the stone wall looks just like one contiguous stone wall for the wall. Now, pretty much, the dog park is not going to be here. That's where the actual skate park is going to be. Dog park now, of course, is going to be up on by the ball fields, up on Stone Church Road. Stone Church Road? Yeah. Stone Church Road. So this will actually be the skateboard park. And we have a committee that's working, and they've got a partial design. The gentleman they were working with, who was one of the foremost in the East, passed away. Just by act, he all of a sudden died. So they've had to go and find somebody else to work with in regards to that. Now, the roadway will come down through, and basically the soccer field is going to be here. We'll start here and go up, and the two baseball fields will be side by side. The reason for that is the fact that, as Sally already spoke, we lost a lot of area. In fact, we lost all this area through here to the archaeological find. We were able to gain a little bit back to be able to fit the soccer field in, to put in a full-size soccer field, by going back to the state and saying that in one section, the number of artifacts that were found were very minimal. So the state SHPO came back to us and said they agreed with us on that and gave us that area back. So we have concurrent letters in regards to knowing where we can and cannot build in regards to SHPO. Down here,
Bob, that line of trees that's depicted there, then that goes away?
that line of trees goes away, correct. So in other words, the soccer field would be like this, and the two Little League fields would be right alongside one another here and here. Now, recently somebody said that we may have a problem. I went onto the Williamsburg Little League site, and according to their website, the size of a Little League field is not changing unless it's something that's going to take effect the first of the year. Somebody said the size of the Little League field was going to change, which would have caused us some redesign of how we would have done the Little League fields. Because right now, both of them would be official Little League fields, as would the soccer field. Now, the soccer field is going to be a multi-use field. If everybody realizes one of the up-and-coming sports today is lacrosse. And if you notice, most lacrosse play on soccer fields. If you get out to Marist, the lacrosse team plays on the soccer field. That's where most lacrosse teams are. The only difference is they're different color lines, because the actual lacrosse field is actually smaller than the soccer field. So it actually fits inside the field, and you just one are yellow and red instead of white and black. So down Down here, we will have a pavilion that will have restrooms, and we'll also have a kitchen that can concession stand that will be able to serve people food, excuse me, food during the summer. This will be closed down during the winter. Okay, this whole thing will be closed down. It'll be shut down because of the fact of maintaining it over the winter and pipes freezing and everything is not something we want to get into at this point in time. We are bringing for this circle right here, since this is a pavilion, this circle is being made accessible that a fire truck can go completely around it. We made sure a bus that a fire truck can go around it. There's going to be we're going to tap into the hydrant system, and an 8-inch main is going to go all the way to the back of the thing, which is more than adequate flow in regards to it. Anybody wants to get into it, I can get into the hydraulics, being a past chief, and tell you why an 8-inch is perfect. Now, there is going to be a network of trails all around the whole park. The whole park will have a network of trails starting up in front. You will come in, there'll be, down in this area, there'll be a kiosk, and the kiosk will describe where the trails are, what they're gonna, what is walkable. The upper section here will be sidewalks. The reason for that, it'll be handicap accessible. So people can actually walk, that are handicapped can actually walk around parts of the park in the upper section. The lower section, no, will not be ADA compatible. So, but the trails will go completely around the whole park. As you can see, this white line, they will go all the way down, around and up and over, and actually go around the field here. So you have a complete network of trails that will be developed in the park. Currently, we are looking at adding things to the trails, but on our first pass, we're not going to get into anything controversial. We're going to go with the mowed trails, so we stay out of areas that are biologically have a problem. So we're trying to stay out of that. Basically, everything else stays the same. The Little League field will stay the same. There will be a building built in between, that's, you know where the blacktop is, in between the Little League field and the tennis. Going to build a building there that will be used for the maintenance people, so they can store their tractors, and if they need to work on something in the winter time. This road will be plowed all the way back during the winter. The parking lot won't be plowed, but the roadway all the way back will be plowed because of the structure and having to get to it if the fire department. We are adding...
Bob, one question.
Yes.
You mentioned the road will be plowed, but the parking lot won't be. I'm anticipating that these trails in the wintertime are going to be accessible for people that want to cross-country ski or snowshoe, etc.
Right.
Where would they be parking their cars?
That's a good question. Hadn't thought about that, and that's a good issue. I mean, we have to plow the road because of the building and the fire department. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there could be some way we could plow part of the parking lot.
Well, it's definitely something that needs to be considered, because the cars can't park on the roadway, otherwise you don't have access to the fire truck.
Right, so we'll bring that up to make sure that we are, because I hadn't thought about the winter time, and I'm a cross-country skier, so that's not a problem. But I will, we'll see if we can't have part of the parking lot plowed so people can park and snowshoe or cross-country or whatever they want on the field. The volleyball court, everything else is going to stay the same. We are conforming to we're going to put lighting in. As far as lighting the fields, that's down the road. That's not in the current phase 1 plan. There will be lighting along the road, which we are conforming to all standards in the planning board to make sure that we conform to the lighting on that. That's pretty much it. The center up here is not on this, as you see, because that's future development, and that's not at all as far as the park committees. That's not ours to do at this point in time. We've not been given that to do. So, but that's pretty much it. There will be different viewing stations along the trail. We're looking on putting walkways out to be able to look at different areas so people can see the biological diversity, see the ducks, see the waterways and everything like that without disturbing the nature of the field.
Hi. Bob talked about a viewing stand. Actually, in this area here, we have a two-story gazebo, which is really going to be something very special for people to be able to see the view shed. We're so fortunate that we have a lot of farmland around us. You have views of the mountains, and we think families will really enjoy that as a place. It's about 22 feet in diameter. It's a really nice size, and it does not have a roof on it, so it's really something where people could go up and see the stars and the mountains and all of the agricultural lands that surround this area. It's interesting, right here with the village and the beginning of the town, you get back here and it is so pristine. It's like it's never been touched. It's really so wonderful, and that's why that is really, the passive recreation for the community, and all the active activities are in this area here. So we're talking about phase one, and phase one is the infrastructure. This roadway becomes critical in terms of putting all the piping for the water lines, electrical lines. We really feel, and from the very beginning, when the community felt, oh, let's just put a baseball field in or a soccer field, never mind everything else, our concern was that we'd be digging up efforts that we made. We'd spend money, we'd have to go back in and dig it up and destroy so much of what was done. So we made a commitment that until we had money to do the infrastructure, we would not begin construction here. So we're looking at some $400,000 for infrastructure, and probably adding to that some in-kind labor. We're hoping that we could take advantage of a lot of the talented people in the community and people that have said that they would like to work on some of the efforts and projects in the park. Many of you may have heard that the trail component, we have a $100,000 grant pledge from the Frost Foundation, and so the trail system will be named after the Frost family, and that we're not quite sure how far that will get us, but we should be able to do a lot of that, because while we have a lot of sidewalks and more of the hardscape in this area, a lot of this is being mowed and can be done by volunteers. The field house here, which is really the restroom and concession stand, just a small gathering area. We have a $100,000 grant from Community Development Funds, which we have to spend by next August. And we're going to match that with another $100,000 and again use in-kind services and get as far as we can to finish the field house. The gazebo here, because we have gotten some funds from the gardens for the trails, the gazebo is really sort of the centerpiece of the trail network, so we will spend money there for that component. And probably some, there's a lot of signage that has to be connected so people know where they're headed, especially with the trail network. But also, it's really valuable in terms of giving direction to people, to children and families, as to, what the park has to offer. So signage will play an important role. As part of the trail network also, we're looking at exercise equipment that will be developed at the main entrance to the, I'm looking, it's probably around here, the main entrance to the trail network. So that will also be may be part of Phase 1 if we have enough money for that. So we're talking about close to $800,000, and those funds are made up of grants. The Thomas Thompson Trust has pledged us $400,000. We have some of that money, but not all of it, and they have given us a timeline for releasing those funds. The $100,000 from community development and the $100,000 from the force fund, and then the recreation fund that we have from subdivisions that will also be a great asset to the project. So that's about where we're at, and that's what we're hoping to accomplish in Phase 1. Phase 2 will be getting into the soccer fields and Little League fields, and the members of the community that are really committed to those sports, they have told us over and over again that they would help go out and raise the funds to put those fields in place. So we're hoping, after we get through with Phase 1, that we'll be working closely with members of the community to begin raising some money for the fields. I should have mentioned, because Bob mentioned the lighting. The lighting is also part of Phase 1, as much of that as we can fit into the budget. And that's about it at this point. We have to do some transportation study work for the planning board, and also we'll be working with Hudsonia to do a biodiversity study. So that will also be part of your review. So it's a very thorough planning board process that we are going through with seeker, and hopefully we'll have all the right answers.
Also, just to add to that, Jim, in Phase 1, part of what's going to be done in Phase 1, as Sally mentioned, there's going to be the hydrant system, the water system. There's actually going to be one trench dug. The hydrant system will sit lower, everything will sit higher, and there will be actually, besides the phone and electric, there will actually be 2 extra tubes, so if we ever need to do anything, we don't have to dig anything up. At the same time, all the electric, there'll be shoot-offs for, if we go to light this, they won't have to dig up they won't have to dig out, because there'll be cutouts and there'll be stops, so all they have to do is dig up that one section and hook right into it right there.
We're also talking about Wi-Fi. Once we have that trench in there, families are spending a couple of hours watching games. They could also pull out their computers and get some work done as well. So.
I should leave the computers at home.
Well.
Watch the game.
Of course, also, as part of this, as part of Phase 1, there's going to be stormwater runoff that will be done in regards to it. Just what I didn't mention, the soccer field will be a synthetic field, so it has to have special drainage underneath it. The 2 Little League fields will be, of course, regular grass type of fields. So, but that will all be as part of Phase 1, the stormwater assessment and being done at the same time.
All right, well, we certainly appreciate the update, but, I'm going to reiterate, as I have many times before, is that it's critical we get this intermunicipal agreement crafted, and we define responsibilities. As I see it here, as it currently exists with no intermunicipal agreement, there's going to be such a duplication of services, because each planning board is responsible for their jurisdiction. Each planning board has to consult with experts, and it behooves us to get this intermunicipal agreement in place so that we can have an engineering firm that is going to represent both municipalities throughout this. We can have a legal team that's going to represent both municipalities throughout this, so that we don't have all of these added costs.
You're absolutely right.
And the way it is right now, you can go to our planning board and you can have any discussion you want, but they cannot take any action and refer to anybody for an approval until this agreement is in place.
Well, I just saw an email from Bruce Washburn, and he's trying to do something.
I have it right here, but it's very basic. Basically, all it says is that we're going to agree to do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what financial responsibilities are the responsibility of who, doesn't address engineering, doesn't address any legal fees. It just, all it is a concept that the village and the town are going to work together.
plug in those missing pieces. I think you just have to sit
Yeah,
at the table.
this was a start,
Yeah.
Right.
but it's
And
critical.
these are the 5 things or 10 things that have to be added.
It's critical that this get done and get done soon. You have a timeline,
Well, we have a timeline because we don't want to lose $100,000.
Right. sure.
Bob,
So-
can you explain that the town-village line goes through the park up there? Can you show us? 'Cause that's what we're
Actually, I
talking,
can
that's
do
what we're
even
talking
better than
about.
that. Let me break out a different map here. Bear with me just a second. And if you look right here, this line right here, it goes down there and goes over this way. This section's the village, this section is the town.
So basically, phase one is in the village,
Most of
basically.
it's in
Mad
there.
Village.
The field house
Field house is not,
and
right.
Field house
most
is
of the
not.
trails are not,
And the trails are really not, but everything else is.
yeah.
So how many feet of new road are you planning? Is that about a quarter mile there?
About that, all the way to the back. Now, the road initially will not have, when we put it in, the road will not have the final coat onto it, okay? The rationale for that is you're gonna have construction equipment coming back here to build 2-3 fields, and I don't wanna take a new road and destroy it, so it will have just the initial first layer onto it in regards to it.
Is the water service sufficient that's coming in into the facility now?
Is the water service? No, it's a pipe coming in.
Well, it's about an 8-inch, it's a big pipe.
You don't have an 8-inch main there. You don't have it. You've got a main that comes right into here.
Here, right.
From here, you've got a pipe that goes to the
Okay,
back.
let me back up. The one that goes up to there, that's sufficient, the amount
That's
of
a
water that can go.
6-inch main that's been there for about 20 years. It's probably down to about a
Okay.
2-inch main.
Question is that going to be sufficient?
No, that's why we're putting a brand-new hydrant system all the way to the back.
Bob,
We're hitting
he's
right on
he's
top.
just asking a question,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Yeah, no, we're putting a whole new hydrant system all the way to the back, an 8-inch. This is an old 6-inch main that's probably over the years, it's been in there for 20, 30 years. And if you ever dig it up, you'll find out it's probably down to about a 2-inch, 3-inch of diameter. From here going back, there was only a pipe put in the ground. There was never any hydrant system, so that's why we have to hook into and put a whole brand-new hydrant system in.
You couldn't, devil's advocate, you can't just sprinkle the building? You can't put a sprinkler system in and then just do a 2-inch water line? You need a hydrant under some state code or what?
Well, yeah, how are you gonna put out fire back here?
But is that a state code? That's what he's,
Yeah, I'm just wondering why you couldn't sprinkle a building or? have a-
Well, if you sprinkler the building, you're still gonna have to put at least a 6-inch main back to run the sprinkler
To
system.
have the sprinkler, really?
Yeah, it doesn't run off have you ever gone down to New York City and you seen those big, Y gates on the side of the buildings that are used? That's what's used to go to the sprinkler system.
Right.
Those are 2.5-inch lines two and a half inch lines that go into there.
And I don't think we should be taking up time here at this meeting to be discussing the physical plans of this whole thing.
Right.
What we need to do is get an intermunicipal agreement in place first. Once we have that, then we can start talking about the rest of it. But until that happens, the village can't take any action. The village planning board can have any conversation you want to have, but they cannot vote to take any action until that intermunicipal agreement is crafted. So, that's it. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, thanks for coming in. I will reach out to Bruce. But we got to get this ball rolling. I mean, I said that last month when we talked.
Okay, it's important, we can't afford to hold it up for the town, as I said earlier, it's gonna cost us $100,000 if we don't.
so our lawyer has to get with the town lawyer.
No. We have to sit down, the two boards are going to have to sit down and talk this out. And have to try and make a recommendation of whose lawyer or whose engineer is going to be responsible for the oversight on this. If we only need to be involved for phase one for this roadway and this infrastructure to go in, I'm fine with that. But we need to define how that's all going to work. All right? And then once we have that, then the lawyers can craft an agreement.
The town planning board made a decision that since the town had hired Weston and Sampson to do all the engineering work for the town, for the project, that they would not pass it on to their town engineer. You know, why would we pay twice for town engineers? So they did make that decision. That was an internal decision. But you're right, Jim, there's nothing in writing that clarifies who's responsible for what.
Well, you know, when you stop and think about this, you have a town code involved here and you have a village code here. And we're both bound by our codes to follow certain procedures. And if somebody wants to develop a project and they hire an engineer, then that municipality's engineer has to review that engineer's plan and sign off on it. So if the town has made that decision, that's fine, but that doesn't cover anything about what happens in the village.
Right.
So that's why we need the agreement.
Right.
I got one more small question.
Sure.
I understand that the funding for this project is going to be all private. There's no taxpayer money involved. Am I correct in this? From what I heard?
Well, we're seeking, you know, we have a grant writer who's going out looking for grants for different components of the project. We're also going to charitable trust for, like the Thomas Thompson Trust, and looking at, you know, federal and state money. So we'll continue to do that. We also have the recreation fund in the town that we're using. That fund is specifically for recreational purposes, and that money is collected through subdivisions. So that's how money's being spent right now.
Even the Frost grant, even though that's on, they sent me a letter stating that in 2014, we could go back to them for more money to develop more of the trails. They're willing to spend more money to develop and help develop the trails over the $100,000 that they're giving us.
Okay?
Thank you
Thanks.
very
Thank you.
much.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Meg Crawford from the Tree Commission is here to speak with us. Hi, Meg.
Well, I want to thank you all, first of all, for supporting us so much with the budget and all the tree plantings we've done so far, and all of our other types of work. And just before I get started on what I came here to speak about tonight, I just wanted to tell Panda, basically, and you, if anybody here is willing, our tree planting this fall will be November 3rd. We're meeting at the mini park. The quadrant that we're planting is the southeast quadrant of town, which is basically near the high school and south.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. We need lots of volunteers. Please come. All you need is yourselves, shovels if you have them. Anyway, the commission has been talking probably over the last year about the issue of trying to help the village and help the trees that we have recently planted as they grow by pruning them so that we can train them when they're young, so that when they grow, they don't interfere with the road, pedestrians when they're in the median, or lawnmowers if they've been planted on the lawn side of the sidewalk. And there are at least 5 of us who are trained pruners because of what we do on the Tree Commission, or past members of the Tree Commission that would be more than happy to do light pruning work. And what I mean by this is pruning work that can be done with a handsaw on limbs that are no larger than 3 inches in diameter. Basically, most of them will be limbs that are on the lower part of the tree, which need to be taken off as they get older, so that they will give the clearance that we need for safety and for pedestrians and cars that go by on the streets. And we would, those of us that are willing to do it, would like to be able to be given permission to just do this and not have to either apply for a permit to do it or to notify the property owner that might be behind that tree in order to do it. Because we would be doing this kind of when we're out in our trucks or whatever and happen to pass a tree that needs it and have our equipment with us and then just could take care of it. So that's what we're hoping that you'll consider instead of having to go through a process every time we cut a limb off of a tree. And we're talking basically limbs that are about this big around or less.
Thoughts?
Well, I'm the liaison to the tree committee and also to the highway department, and I support this idea. Anything that can help the highway department get some of their work done, I fully support. And I believe that Meg and the people that she recommends know what they're doing when they trim the trees.
We wouldn't be doing anything that we have to use ladders to access, or it would all be done from the ground. So
We're just talking about street trees?
we're talking about the trees that we put in, which are, many of them lie in the medians, where they're...
Okay, so only the trees that the village has planted in the recent few years?
Well, we would definitely like to do those. There are also some trees that other people have planted that are in the median. I'm not talking about those that are in lawns here, but older trees that we did not put in that are in the median that are causing problems for pedestrians because they've never been pruned.
How much older? I'm just trying to get a sense of, are you asking for permission to trim and prune all street trees, or only the ones that have been planted, or only ones that are a few years old? I'm just looking.
We would like to plant all the ones that we have planted. In addition to that, we would like to be able to prune, and these would be mostly smaller trees like crab apples, or I don't know, there are all kinds of flowering trees that people have put in over the years in the median. And if they are dwarf trees, they were never taken care of afterward, and they're getting hit by cars, or they're in the way of pedestrians when they walk down the streets because they've never been limbed up properly. So we would like to also be able to take care of those as long as that kind of pruning doesn't require a power saw. In other words, wouldn't be much bigger than this to
So
do it.
when you say median, you mean between the road and the sidewalk?
Right.
Which is definitely in the right-of-way.
Between the road and the sidewalk. Because
Well-
those are the ones that affect passerbys.
As a frequent pedestrian, I can tell you that many places I cannot walk on the sidewalks. I
Right.
have to go to the street because the limbs are hanging over.
Right,
So I think what you're doing there is, what you're proposing is a good thing.
right. I mean, there are some that need to be done by a professional because they're too big, basically. I'm talking ones that are literally 3 inches or less.
I think it's great that we need to figure out some way to get the pruning done that needs to be done. And so I think that we should be working towards that. I'm just trying to figure out how this fits in with our current tree law, which requires property owners to come in and get a permit to do that type of work. And I have concerns about, I just want to try to figure out what the limits would be, concerns about trees that have been on somebody's, it's somebody's sidewalk for 20 years or more. And, some property owners really take pride in ownership in those trees and have sometimes negative reactions to someone just showing up and starting to trim the tree without asking for permission. And the whole point of the law was to try to kind of get everybody on the same page.
Right, I agree with that. And I know that you, last year in particular, had one person that was particularly angry when we pruned a tree that was in the median for her. And I noticed that same person went and pruned that tree without asking, and cut it down without asking anybody anything this year.
Is that right?
Yes. But, I think what needs to be done in order for the public to understand this is for, the village to say that these trees need, in the median, because it affects both the street and the sidewalk, need to be limbed up so that they are safe, and that we want it done properly, and that the tree commission members, have a right to take these limbs off as needed up to 3 inches.
I also have concerns about liability, about community volunteers getting in and doing physical labor if there was, an accident with a limb falling, or if a car backed out and, hit somebody while this was happening, or, it seems like a simple light duty, but,
I think you need to
happen.
think about that liability when we're planting the trees, too.
Right.
It doesn't, and
But I have real concerns about just the safety of the people doing this and
I understand
being
what
able
you're
to-
saying. I'm just saying that liability, if you're covering volunteers, really should be covering us with the plantings as well.
It's a good point. It's a good
I mean,
point.
it's
Right,
not
yeah.
just pruning that affects.
Right,
It's-
no, it's a good point. What does everybody else think about
Well, at the
this?
least, I
I
think.
like the idea. I think we have this procedural thing about getting a permit, and there's probably no language that says that the tree commission doesn't need a permit, so I don't know if you could give us a blanket narrative
What
and
we're,
pull a permit for all these things, or?
what we're facing here is, and the highway department has the right, underneath the village code, to do pruning as necessary where it concerns the safety and welfare of the public. And if it's an impediment to a sidewalk, or an impediment to somebody's driveway, or an impediment to the street because the branches are hanging too low, we have the ability to go and prune those trees without having to get a permit. There is a section in the code that provides for that. The problem I have, and I've had before, is non-notification to homeowners. That never works. Never works. It will bite you every single time. People are very sensitive about somebody going on what they deem to be their property and their right. We have a right-of-way, and somebody doing something and not notifying them. And we learn this time and time again. We certainly can give you the ability to do this, but we still need to notify the people and say, the village code provides for us to, keep the sidewalks and the streets free of any impediments, the section, we can cite the section of the code, but these people still have to be notified that this is why the work is taking place, so that they don't come home one day and all of a sudden, wow, look at this, what happened? Because the phone will ring off the hook, I know it will.
I agree with
We
that.
found that out before,
And what do you consider notification?
It has to be something in writing, We have to make diligent effort to put something in their hands that notifies them that we're going to be taking this work, doing this work, and here is the reason why.
Something
So that they don't come home someday and they're just surprised because there's all kinds of trees that have been pruned in front of their house or on their property, and here the branches lie in the street.
Something similar that we're doing with the hydrant.
Yeah, you have to do the best job you can. You put it out on the website, you put it in the newspapers, something in writing to the property owner, Yes, it's more work, but in the long run, it saves you a lot of
Well,
headaches.
I guess it's a question of, it would really be Lisa's job, right?
Well, no, not only Lisa's job, because you folks have to let us know where these locations are.
Well, I know that.
You
I know that.
So
But I mean-
there's work that goes into accomplishing this whole thing.
And you would feel this needed to be, if we could put it in a letter when we plant the trees, that we will be doing this on the trees that we plant, do you think we then need to do it every time?
Good enough. Because you could plant the tree and then come back 2 years later and want to prune it, and the person will go, what the hell? What letter are you talking about? I don't remember any letter, It's just human nature, Meg.
Yeah, I'm just,
I know, you're trying to streamline it as much as
I am
possible.
trying to streamline it, because
but-
if it isn't streamlined, I don't think we're going to get it done, basically. It's going to be, so, because, it's on our volunteer time. If we have to
understand
plan
that.
that far ahead of time to do every single little tree that we do, I
Understand
just don't
that,
think it's
but-
going to get done.
I just know if it's a significant amount of pruning, that it's going to cause a problem. You mentioned we had one problem already on something fairly minor, and it was an adverse reaction to it, so. I'm in full support of what you folks are trying to accomplish here, but the public notification process is the whole key to making this go seamlessly.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, I just don't know how we can do it on an individual basis.
Well, but maybe we can use sections of the town. Put it in quadrants or something like that. So in this month or this 2-3 months, we're doing this section.
And keep in mind here, too,
Well, that's okay, but then you'd still have to, I'm saying, if we could do it just saying we're doing this section, but you're talking about notifying every single owner, right, in that section.
Keep in mind here,
It's a lot of people,
and
and
keep in
figuring
mind
that
here
out, it's not
you know,
so
there's
easy.
emergency situations and there's not emergency situations. And I try and stress this with people all the time in village business, that nothing has to be done immediately. If it's putting people's lives at risk, we can go do whatever we want when we want. All right, if it's putting people's lives at risk. But if it's a matter of a branch that's hanging too low above a sidewalk, does that have to absolutely be done tomorrow? No. Slow down a little bit and go through the proper process so that you don't have headaches.
Okay, I'm just telling you, from my point of view,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not even speaking for Nicholas or Jason or, the other people that would be doing this, I think if, we have to go through this process of notifying every single person in writing a week before, whatever it is, before we go handle the tree, it's not going to be the same as if we're driving down the sidewalk and it's very obvious that this tree is there, we've got a pruning saw and we can take care of it right then. I'm just telling you from a volunteer's point of view.
I understand where you're coming from,
where
but
I'm coming
understand where we sit, and we've got a multitude of people that live in this village that we have to answer to, and you're asking us to make a determination that gives you the permission to just go cut something on somebody's property without notifying them. And
Well,
have
I
a
guess
tough
the
time
question
making that
here
decision.
also is, and I know that we haven't made a total decision about this, but I can see on the lawns, but when it's in a median, for people to consider
It's a right of way. We have the right to go on that property, okay?
if it's
But it's still their property.
in the median?
Yes, it's a right of way. From the center line of the road, certain amount of feet in is a right of way.
Let me ask a question, just to back up the process for a minute. My current understanding of the way this whole thing works is that either homeowners, property owners, notify the tree commission they'd like to do some pruning on their tree, and you either approve or don't approve it. When you approve it, I know that we approve cutting down trees, but when they approve pruning, like minor pruning on a tree that the homeowner can do themselves, do we approve that?
Yes.
I just can't remember if we approved that. We
Yeah,
did.
they have to
Okay.
apply for the permit,
All right.
and then it has to come to us.
So we approve the minor pruning too.
Right.
And so if the property owner is willing to do it, we let them do it. If they're not willing to do it, or if it needs to be done, we've oftentimes had the highway department go do it, right? So what's falling down that, I'm trying to figure out why the highway department can't continue to do what they're doing with this, and why the need for the volunteers to step in. What is it happening that's
They're
making?
way behind now.
Okay.
We don't have the money, first of all, in our budget to get as much pruned as needs to be pruned. And
Wait a
trees-
second. What is the money? Are we
Well,
paying
we
extra
have
to
a
do
budget
that?
line for tree takedowns and pruning.
And pruning.
But for the minor pruning, we're not.
They don't do
they're
minor
just-
pruning.
They don't.
Okay,
they
so
can't
this
get to it.
is what I'm trying to figure out. So our highway department is not currently doing, like if there's a tree hanging down, it's creating a safety hazard, they're not going over and just cutting that down with a handsaw if it's a small?
If
If
it's,
it's an emergency
Yeah.
thing
They
where
do that.
people
Right.
are in imminent
Right.
danger, yes, they will do it.
yes.
But they don't really have time.
But what she's talking about is more preventative maintenance.
This is basically a shaping of the tree.
So that
to
as
make
it
grow
grows,
in
we
a
don't
proper
have
fashion
these
so
big
that you don't
limbs that
have
are,
headaches later.
I also think there's a big difference in whether you do this on newly planted trees, say trees that have been planted within the last 5 years, versus trees that have been there for 20 years or more. I think that's a really big difference in how we approach this, because I think you're just talking about two different types of trees. People, identify quickly that, oh yeah, the village planted that, makes sense, they're over here taking care of it. There's just a different attitude towards older trees.
well, I'm certainly happy to start there.
I mean, I
if
wonder
we
if there might be a compromise
You know,
there
if we could,
somewhere.
if we could do the village trees that we planted, that would be great. It's not going to take care of, the other problems. Hopefully, the highway department will continue to take more of those, like, Heinz is talking about. There are a lot of, trees that are over sidewalks where people just can't walk under them.
No, I understand, and we should be trying to make an effort to clear those up, especially if it's a safety problem.
So in
You
your
have a
monthly
safety
report,
problem if you can't walk on the sidewalk and you have to walk on the
That's work-
street.
That's
Right.
work that the highway department can do in the wintertime.
in your
Right.
monthly report, you might mention 10 or 12 takedowns, but you could also mention 10 or 12 paragraphs of folks that need tree pruning, and then we could send them a letter and,
So who's gonna go around and look for this? Or are we just gonna rely on people walking on the street to come in and say, hey, tree needs pruning over here?
no, I mean, they would have to flag
My
it.
feeling is if there are trees that need to be pruned, we need to know where those trees are located. What property, what address, and we need to send a person a letter and notify them that the tree commission will be visiting your property to do preventive pruning maintenance on the trees. That's what we need.
So why can't we do it that way? Why can't we do it so that, because my concern here is that we're trying to skirt around a process that has already been built in, and the tree commission's kind of skirting around it. So why not let you identify trees that need to be pruned? You know, in your meetings, make a motion that these trees need to be pruned. Send the village board a list of trees that need to be pruned that you want to prune. We approve it or not approve it, and if we
Okay.
approve it, we give notification to the homeowners. And then you go do it. I mean.
That would be all right.
We have
as
to
long
find a
as
way
you-
to keep it within the
If you give
process
us,
that.
I guess this is true even of the homeowners, they're not doing it the next day. So if we went around town and made a list with the help of whatever residents know that there are trees like this and would like it done, that could bring it to our attention.
I just feel like our best bet is to stay within the permitting process that we've already built in, that, while not perfect, still seems to be working fairly well. I just worry about making this overly more complicated than it already is.
So would you have somebody like Meg filling out the permit for a homeowner that she
Well, no,
recommends?
I think these permits should be dealt with the way we deal with all other permits. It should just be, the only difference is the tree commission is bringing the request to the village versus a homeowner bringing the request to the village. It should just, so it's.
And is this true also of the ones we've planted, or just the other ones?
Well, I think that as a person on the tree commission, you can request anything you want. It's up to us to approve it. I would personally be more likely to buy into your request to prune newly planted trees versus older trees, for starters, just because I think it's less problematic to at least kind of try this out on. But that's not the point.
As I mentioned before, if these branches are overhanging the sidewalk and causing a problem for pedestrians to pass, doesn't need to be a permit.
Right.
The code already provides for that to happen.
Right, if you're an employee, but not if you're a
Right.
volunteer.
And we could look to you too to notify us of conditions that are not unsafe that we're not aware of so that we can deal with that.
So you want us to make a list for the highway department to do in the winter? Is that what you're talking about on these trees?
Well, I don't think you need to make a list. It's quite obvious for anybody that walks down the sidewalk which ones need to be cleaned up,
Well,
you know?
I know, but
The
still,
highway department's not going around looking for
they're
that.
not going to go around
Well,
looking.
it's very easy. I mean, walk down South Street, you know? Walk down Mill Street, going down the hill. Walk down Livingston Street. I was over there today. It's quite obvious. So we need to sit down and talk with the guys in the highway department. You know, these guys are on the roads all the time too. How come we see it? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
If Meg and the tree commission is willing to come up with a list, that'd be great. They're the specialists.
You know, I don't feel it's the tree commission's responsibility to identify maintenance work that the village should be doing.
Well,
You know,
that's
if
true
they're
also.
willing to volunteer to prune these trees that they've planted, I'm perfectly willing to accept that help. But, you know, let's not put the onus of village maintenance on the tree commission.
I'm not, I'm just saying if they were willing to identify these.
If they want to hand something in, fine, but I don't think it's their job or responsibility to go around and do that.
I mean, you can do it by street name, so street between, say Livingston between Route 9 and Mulberry or something like that, or wherever the problem is. You don't have to go each individual.
you're a volunteer commission. I mean, you can offer up any suggestions to the village board you want on any subject related to trees or anything else for that matter. So don't feel limited by, I mean, you can make suggestions. That's what, you should feel free to do that. And if you want to make a list of trees that you think need work on, feel free to do it. We just have to decide what to do with that information.
But what about the maintenance of newly planted trees? Because, she knows what to do to try to keep the tree healthy. I don't think the highway department would go around looking for these shoots that are coming out.
I understand.
And they're not really any hazardous things, but.
I think that's fair game. I mean, it's part of the
understand.
planning process, keeping the thing healthy for the first 2 or 3 years while it's fragile or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Doing, I don't-
if you can cut the framework correctly initially, it certainly helps a lot.
Yeah, this is an investment that the village made, and it's in, we would like to take care of our investment.
So how do we go about doing that?
Again, you would need to prepare this list of the trees you're gonna go do, and we need to have addresses of where they're at, and we have to notify the people that it's gonna happen.
All right, but do we need to fill out a separate tree permit for each one of these, or what?
You provide the list to the village board. You don't have to fill out a permit for each one.
Okay.
The thing I'm worried about here is the public notification thing, This is the village trying to maintain this investment. I don't think we need a permit for each individual tree. We just need to identify the locations and let people know, here's the reason why we're coming to prune this tree in such and such a time frame.
Right.
It's projected during this week, we will be at your property to maintain this tree.
Well, if you can avoid doing that, that's what I would like you to avoid. The fact that we're
Well,
gonna
some
be
type of a
doing it
time
this
frame,
week.
so that they're not surprised.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
you could say, for the newly planted ones, something like, we could certainly give you a list, but if you could say, the tree commission is going to be pruning the newly planted trees over the winter.
Fine.
That would be
You
good.
let us know how you want it to read,
Okay,
okay? I just want to make sure it's in their hand.
okay.
I don't like it when my phone rings with that
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
you know?
All right, so, and if we can, you would like us to also be able to start making a list, and is there anybody else for that matter? A list.
If you see problem
of the
areas,
trees
yes,
where
certainly.
you're
let-
walking,
yeah.
and they're
If you see
problem.
problem areas, certainly, feel free to let us know. I walk around this village a lot. I mean, I'm pretty in tune where some of these locations are. Do I walk the whole village? No, I don't.
All right, well, any of you that can help with making that list would be great. I mean, I know mine walks a lot if you walk a lot too.
Livingston Street is a hot spot, I know that,
Yeah.
Like I said, South Street,
Yeah.
especially on the end towards Mill Street, and then going down the hill towards the Legion Park, there's spots there. There's three areas that come to mind right away, and I'm sure there's others.
Okay, so we'll make a list of trees. I guess we'll just give you the whole list of trees we've planted in the last couple of years and where they are.
Not to make, not to make your job more difficult, but it's not just the trees. There's also people with bushes, who have the bushes that grown right into the sidewalk.
That's all part of the pruning process. If it's grown into the sidewalk, it needs to be cut back from the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's not, we're just gonna I think we'll deal with the newly planted trees.
Well, our sidewalk law also has an encumbrance portion in the code. Anything that's blocking
Yes,
access to
it's
sidewalk.
it's all in the village code.
So that's taken care of. We just have to follow through on enforcing it.
Okay, thanks, Meg.
Should we do the tree commission report right now while Meg's here?
Sure.
Meg, wait a minute.
Sit down.
No, as Meg mentioned, we're going to have our tree planting November 3rd. It's a Saturday. We're going to be planting 24 trees, and we're looking for volunteers to meet us at the mini park at 9 a.m. Did everybody look over the tree report? Any questions?
Do we have any projection from Dave when he's gonna do that tree pruning yet around the corner here?
He was supposed to start this week, but I guess he didn't start yet.
But it's gonna happen soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're gonna be doing Christmas tree lights pretty soon, so if he's gonna prune those trees,
Right.
you don't wanna do it after they get up there and those trees.
Some of those trees,
lights.
they have the lights in them.
Have the lights still on.
They have the lights in them already.
I know. What I'm saying is if he's gonna prune them, they should be done now, before they have to go do the
Right.
lights.
He has to go around the wires.
Yeah, he knows. Now, there's one tree that we recommended to be removed, but we don't have the address here in the minutes. D.D. Hunter's tree, is that 14 or 16 Livingston?
It says removed at the earliest opportunity, once funds are available. What's
Yeah.
that about?
Well, that was a tree that we approved.
Yeah, we approved to be removed. I mean, that's another, because I think you're getting groups of trees before you go in and pay for somebody to come in.
All right, so it's not an issue of funds being available, it's an issue of having a group of trees to do.
Yeah, we didn't know if you wanted to get more trees together like we did that one time and wait to get one price,
And
or,
again, what's the issue with the tree? I mean, how bad is it? Is it something that needs to be done right away? Or is it something you're gonna say, well, no, it could stay for another few months until we get more? You know?
I mean,
What's the address?
it's pretty much dead, but there are a lot of standing dead trees in this town, so that's the hard part for us, giving priority to certain ones.
Do you know what the address is?
14 or 16.
yeah, 14 or 16 Livingston Street. You'll notice it.
Do you know everyone's name and address in the village?
No, no.
His father does, he used to be a mailman.
Yeah.
dad does.
Yeah. It's next to Dave Queen's house. You know where that is?
Actually, I think I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for the tree commission, right?
All right. Thank you, Meg.
Thank you, Meg.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Wayne is here to talk to us about 14 Center Street. New police station.
Wayne who? Oh, yeah.
Wayne's the project manager, construction project manager. Come on.
So the folks out in TV land can hear you.
Unless you want to sit here.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to give you a little bit of a status of where we are with the construction. I have a lot of good news, and I have some issues that we've been confronted with since we broke ground that we need to deal with. So the good news I'll start with. We've had probably 25% of the material submittals have been presented to our architect, and they have been either approved or not approved, but the process is ongoing, so we're well along in regard to the material submittals. Today, actually, I would like to make mention that our highway department made a cut at the end of last week in the blacktop from the construction site over to the south end of the police trailer for the temporary electric, and I'd like to thank Mike Wolf for getting that accomplished on a timely basis, and his crew. And today, we did have equipment here on site from Meyer Contracting that did in fact open up the ditch from the police trailer to the construction site, and the temporary line has been installed. And the process basically is that we're going to take the power, which is adequate, out of the police trailer and then utilize that for the temporary trailer for the construction site. But we also installed the conduit for the permanent generator that's going to be installed on that south side of the police trailer, which is going to be permanent. So we actually completed two things there. So that was accomplished today. The panel is installed on the south side of the construction site for the temporary electric, and that will be done probably within the next couple of days. Also today, we broke ground, as you well know probably, and we did some test holes for the compaction testing that Atlantic Testing is going to do in regard to the soil. And in the process of doing that, we found 3 structures on the construction site that we were not aware of. One being a approximate 4-foot oval dry well that's approximately 14 foot deep that was laid up in bluestone, and we also found a approximate 8-foot dry well with a 4-foot concrete top on it, and we also found another dry well. So these 3 structures that we found today are going to have to be remediated. Obviously, we didn't know about them, and it's going to cost us some extra money to do that. The other issue that was found today during the testing is that the soil on the south side and the east side of the construction site is such that is a sandy loam, and it's going to require us to shore those areas in order to make the construction site safe, because we're going to go down into the ground 10 feet, and because of the area that we have to excavate, we don't have enough room to slope in order to keep the soil from falling down into the pit and making workers that are putting footings in the ground safe. So as a result of that, we're going to have to spend some extra money ensuring that those two areas up on the south and east side of the construction site. As we go forward, the next couple days, they're going to come in and put stanchions in and build the shoring on the south and east side of the structure of the construction site. But things are going well, other than these scenarios, which we always find in these kinds of situations when we have construction of this magnitude, we run into these kind of problems. But obviously, we're going forward. I have found that our prime contractors have been unbelievably great to work with. I've had considerable contact with Jim Carey at Race in regard to the temporary electric. He's been great. The communication between Mike Davis, who is the project manager for Meyer Contracting, which is our GC, he has talked to me several times a day within the last couple of weeks, and we have a great rapport. I'm very confident that these guys are diligent and have our interest at heart. But, unfortunately, we're going to be faced with some scenarios here that we're going to have to deal with that are going to be extra costs. Based on my experience and the input that I've gotten from Mike Davis and Atlantic Testing in regard to the testing, I'm thinking that we're probably into this for, $10,000, probably extras, in regard to the fact that we have to get rid of these structures. The other issue that we have here in regard, the actual two structures that are only like 8 and 10 feet deep, they're not actually below where our virgin soil is going to be as far as the bottom of the slab. But the one is going to, because we're below where our site is going to be, we're going to have some compaction scenarios there where we're going to have to bring back up and there's going to be some scenarios there that we're going to have to pay for. So that's just the way it is. I mean, at this point, obviously, we're going to go forward and do what we have to do to make it right. But everything is going well. Our architect is doing a great job with the submittals. I, quite frankly, was unaware of what the process is in regard to these submittals, but Phil Zemsky of Rhinebeck Architecture has done a great job in regard to ascertaining the submittals. I mean, we recently had a submittal for the windows where we had specified Marvin windows, and they proposed applied gem windows, and he rejected it because it wasn't up to spec. So Phil's doing a great job in ensuring that the materials that were specified are in place. So I'm very pleased in that regard. You will find, I think, there was 2 requisitions for payment that you folks probably have seen or will vote on.
What they were for.
Yeah, and that is all contract specified stuff that, for bond and insurance things that were in the contract. So next month, obviously, we'll see some more of that. Hopefully, we'll have our bond in place. I would assume that you're on top of that. So, but the process is going well. I know there was some discontent in regard to the delay, but I can tell you that this kind of project is, we're dealing with scenarios where we have rebar submittals and things of that sort that we had to get in place before the excavation took place, so we didn't hold up. And because we have the soil scenario, that was the reason for the delay. And plus, we had a situation with the permit process. And although I know that we don't really not have to go through the permit process, I think the board is cognizant of the scenario that we want to do this the right way. So we went through the appropriate permit process, and that was delayed a bit because of certain scenarios. But we are going forward, and I'm in touch with our primes on a daily basis, and I think everything's going okay.
Just hope you don't find any archaeological artifacts there.
No, that's what I thought he was going to say.
Yeah, so far, that has not been the case.
Can we recoup some of that bluestone used for sidewalks in the,
Now, unfortunately, the bluestone is like very, I took some photographs of this pit. It was probably done 100 years ago. And quite frankly, it's absolutely amazing if you could see how this was constructed and dug by hand. quite frankly.
Howie's gonna go down and inspect it tonight.
yeah, get a
It's really
flashlight.
amazing. But in any event, we're going to have issues like this, and we're going to have to deal with them. And I think, though, quite frankly, that once we get this behind us, we had a project meeting last Wednesday morning. Our general contractor was approved to panelize the exterior walls. So based on the input that I've gotten from our GC and the primes, I'm quite confident that once we get through this process of the excavation and get our poured foundation in, we're going to have this building up fairly quickly. Because the exterior walls are going to be panelized, the roof is trussed. The one thing that I am going to have to deal with you folks on, probably within the next week or two, I'm going to have some siding samples and roofing samples and color swatches, and we're going to have to make some decisions in regard to our exterior siding colors and our roof colors that we're going to have to get together and decide on. But I will keep you guys informed in that regard. But I'm real pleased with the way these folks are working with us, and I'm really confident that this project is going to go forward pretty smoothly. Again, we're going to have some rocks in the road, but we'll get through them and we'll be okay.
One thing Wayne and I had discussed, and I think it's important that we talk about this, is that he needs access to this building, whether it be to provide the contractors with something, in the meantime, power or water, while this whole thing's being addressed. Of course, when he stepped down, he had handed his keys back in, and Heinz got those keys. So, I think it's important that we publicly announce that Wayne will have a set of keys for this building while this construction project is underway. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have any issue with that? I mean, do we need a resolution for that, Rich?
The board's authorizing it now.
Okay. All right, everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Lisa, we have extra keys down there, right? So Wayne can be provided with a set of keys. All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anybody got any questions?
Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Thanks a lot.
When they're
my
gonna
pleasure.
when they're gonna be finished?
Oh, and the scheduling has been a huge amount of our conversation in regard, and I'll provide you folks with that. We do have a very detailed schedule that has been put in place based on a lot of input from all of our primes and from our architect, and I will make a copy of that and put it in all of your folders. But basically, we're looking to move in the first week of April. And I have made it very clear to our primes that we're going to keep on that schedule. Obviously, but we're real confident that we're going to do that.
Okay.
So that's the plan. And
But of all people, I should thank you most for doing this.
it's my pleasure, believe me. It's been fun, and then it's going to be a challenge to get through it, but it's going to be very rewarding to see it all get done.
Okay, thanks, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Also, I just wanted to point out that the bond rate is 3% for over 20 years, which
Less
is,
than that. Give the actual.
well, 2.99%.
Okay.
so
Every
is-
little bit counts, Brant.
Historically extraordinarily low, so that's really good.
4,700 and change?
Is
per
that what I
month?
said?
I think so,
Let's
yeah.
see.
Okay, something that I neglected to do last month, completely forgot about it in all of the hubbub. I appointed Heinz, but I didn't appoint a deputy mayor. With Wayne stepping down, of course, deputy mayor position became open. And I had every intention of appointing Howie last month, and he even had his family here to witness him being appointed, and I completely forgot about it. I didn't write it down on my agenda. So, my faux pas.
And I didn't remind them either.
Yeah, and I said, why didn't you give me an elbow? So at this point in time, I would just like to appoint Howie as the deputy mayor. And then, of course, in my absence, or God forbid anything were ever happen, he would be the mayor as the deputy mayor. And if he and I happen to be out of town, it would be up to me or he to appoint somebody else to act in our stead if we were both gone at the same time. So,
Thank you.
congratulations,
Thank you,
Mr.
Jim.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Did you guys approve?
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
well, that was my question. Do we probably need to formally approve it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, all the board in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay. Now we can
Thank you.
begin our regular business. Wastewater Department.
Okay, for September, wastewater treated 3.6 million gallons, gallons of sludge process 72,800, pounds of sludge process 10,649 pounds, cubic yards of sludge process 19.6. Pretty quiet month. We did get preliminary approval from the Department of Environmental Conservation for the sludge press replacement. It is considered a minor modification. That is their determination. So we do not need to go through a formal process with the DEC. I've given the bidding documents to Rich, and he's approved them with a change for the non-collusion certificate. So what I would like to do is get a motion to go out to bid for the removal of the existing sludge press and replacement of a new one.
You're going to make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we go out to bid.
Is there a
We
second?
have Larios and Dennis Larios and his group go out to bid on that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Also, Anthony Gasparini is on vacation, so Peter Rathjen is chief wastewater operator in his stead. And I would like to make a motion to award Peter Rathjen out of title pay for today through October 17th.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
And the other issue is the mower. I don't know if you could.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him, and I know I've seen him in the building a couple times, and he's got out before I could stop him.
Okay.
And I haven't usually see him at the bagel shop in the mornings, but I haven't been seeing him, so I'll talk to him about it.
If we wish to have the highway department do it, that would be great. I mean, we could just do a transfer of a budget transfer, but it doesn't sound like they're looking for more things to do, especially this time of year with the.
No, not with
the
leaves.
brush.
Not with the leaves, no.
Okay,
All right.
I think that's it.
Okay, Water Department, Heinz?
Yeah, just want to give an update since our 9/11 board meeting. We have awarded the water main relocation project to A.W. Kuhn for a price of $98,435. And the work there is supposed to start on the 16th of October, which is Tuesday next week. At this point, I want to bring up a concern that I have that has to do with the funding for this. I believe I have a capital reserve fund of $88,000 and $600. The cost of this project is $98,400. I do have, I'm going to come to the board in a couple of minutes to talk about a fence, which is about $7,400, and then have already installed a security system, which was $2,800. So I would like to make a request to replenish this account by about $30,000 to be able to pay these bills.
Well, you have a fund balance that's.
I have a fund balance that is way sufficient, but it is not dedicated for capital projects.
Right, so
Okay?
we just have to move money from the fund
From the
balance
balance
into the.
into this balance, so.
It's not that
that-
it's coming from the general fund.
It is not coming from the general fund, it's coming from the water department fund
Mm-hmm.
balance. That's what I'm gonna say. So do we need a motion to do this, or can we just do that?
Yes.
Line up transfer.
Right, transfer, okay.
You go ahead and make a motion then.
Okay, I make a motion to transfer $30,000 from the water department general fund into the capital reserve fund.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Second item, we had a hydrant replaced on South Parsonage Street with the help from the street department. We supported a replacement of a corroded service line, and we had, in the process, had to replace a corporation, which is a connection to the main valve at 14 Oak Street. And I just wanted to show the board, you have a show and tell here of what this looks like when it corrodes here. It completely eats the inside of the iron away. And similar things happens on the main lines. And I brought you also a show and tell here, which is a 4-inch piece of pipe that we cut off, and that came out of South Parsonage and Mill Street. And, you know, there's considerable corrosion inside.
That's why we flush the lines.
Yes, but it's still, this happens. And I have a reason for showing you this here, because later on I want to talk to you about
I was gonna put them in his trophy case.
That's right. There's a huge amount of them in the water plant, the whole hydrants and so on. So we did that. We installed a new tap at the 5 South Parsonage Street. I'd like to talk about security a bit. I took a trip up to the reservoir on Hiley Lane, and just went through this whole place, and one of the first things I saw is that we have a gate there that has been broken about a year ago. Apparently a snowplow went into it, and it has major breaks in it where actually you can go into it, sneak into it underneath it. So I will come back next week sometime with an estimate to either fix this gate. It's a 15 or 20 inch gate, or replace it, and that is probably, I don't know what the cost is, but it's going to be at least $1,000 or so. The other thing we have done in the water plant, we posted a no trespass sign about 2 weeks ago. We installed a security system which is operational now at a cost of $2,800. The monitoring cost is $24.95 per month. It gets billed every 6 months. I have quotes for a security system, for security fence, and I asked for 5 bits. I got 3 bits. The low bid was from Oakwood Fencing at the cost of $6,900. Plus, if you decide to put a barbed wire, a 1-foot barbed wire on top of that, it's another $500. So I would recommend we do that for $7,400. Adams was about $11,640, and another quote I got from a Neve Group, which was close to over $19,000, and there's quite a spread in these things. So I'd like to make a motion here to engage Oakwood Fencing to build a partial fence around the plant here. And I have made a sketch here, and if you don't mind, you can pass this on. And essentially what I'm doing here is I keep about 5 feet away to the west side of the pump house, and then angle back close to the lagoon, and then across the street at about 15 or maybe 20 feet behind the curve. I think we need to do this because that's a potential homeland security issue if we don't have this fenced in. Any questions?
Make a motion.
Okay. I make a motion to engage Oakwood Fencing to put a barbed wire fence with a sliding gate in there at a cost of $7,400.
No, it's not a barbed wire fence, right? It's a chain link.
No, it's a chain link
Barbed wire
fence
on
with
top.
with a 1-foot barbed wire top.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? No questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted.
Next item I want to talk about is water department support. I have completed, together with Tom Wallbank, the mapping of all the Rhinebeck village water lines. We color-coded them according to various line diameters, numbered the fire hydrants and the water valves. We scanned and printed two sets of drawings, 36 by 36 inch drawings, are quite big, and distributed the drawings to the water department, and there's one set of copies here in the office, and the DVD with the scanned images of these drawings. I set up a database for hydrants and water valves, and referencing the hydrant valve, the hydrants and the valves by number, do the engineering drawings, and that showed what their physical locations is and their replacement history. Now I don't have a big database on that. Apparently Tom Wallbank has some of them. I am familiar with about 10 or 15 items, including the ones that we want to do in replacement of hydrants over the next year and so on, next couple of years and so on. But this is something where we can keep an inventory of what we're doing with these things, when it was done, what the conditions were, and that sort of thing. There are about 119 hydrants and 164 water valves in the village proper. Does not include places like the woods or the village greens and so on.
The woods infrastructure, is that maintained by the homeowners?
Yes, it is. And they have about 15 of them or so. They have a large number of hydrants in that area. I want to develop a long-term capital reserve fund strategy. And what I wanted to do here is to have actually line items identified for number one, hydrants and valves. Number two, we have to clean out the lagoon. It probably has to be done. Tom says 7 years. I think it looks almost full now, but he probably knows better than I do. And that's $150,000, $160,000 item potentially. And what else was there? Oh yes, and the water trunk lines, and that's one of the reasons I showed you this year. We have a lot of these 4-inch lines, and at some point we have to dig them up, and that can get very expensive. So I want to put every year some money away to do that eventually. We do have a large fund balance, general fund, money in the general fund, and I don't want. I want to make sure that we all know.
Don't say general fund.
That's the, I'm sorry, it's the
Fund
water.
balance.
The fund balance on the
Right.
water
Water
department.
department,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that we know why we have it at that size and where it's going to go to. I'm attempting to reconcile the raw water versus the lost water versus the water that we actually bill. And one of the problems I find is that the correlation between the water that we're sucking out of the Hudson and the water that we're actually selling to the people, to the metered entities, is a huge difference there, and sometimes as much as 25–30%. And we don't know where that water goes. Now, I have some idea where it goes. I put a list together of at least 7 or 8 entities that are not being built at this point, and that is the town, that's the garage, the fire place here, the fire department, and so on. And I want to at least put a meter, and the water department, by the way, because the water department uses a huge amount of water for backwashing and so on, and that gets never caught. I know what the wastewater department, I found out that it has been metered and never been read, but I knew when it was installed, so I could figure out what the yearly usage of this water is. And I have actually a list put together here somewhere. Yeah, that's not complete yet, but I accounted so far for about 3.5 million gallons a year of stuff that is not being sold.
Down the drain.
Down the drain, so to
So-
speak. Okay.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Would
Yeah.
you be billing these entities?
Oh, no, I have no plan at this point to bill them, but don't know what's coming down the road. But I had told Kathy Kinsella, and she has to go to the board, I told her what kind of a meter she should use, because I have a sense they're using a lot, particularly in the winter when they wash down their cars with all the salt, and I'm sure you guys too, and so on. But I want to come back with a complete study on that at a later time, maybe in a month or two, to see where I'm going with this. In the meantime, I want to install water meters in the town garage, as I mentioned, in the firehouse here, and in the water department. And I told Tom to buy at least two of them, one for the water department, one for the fire department here. Now, what we had looked, or Wayne had looked at one point in the fire department to put a water meter in downstairs, and he decided not to do this because of environmental concerns. And what I asked Tom to do is to take a look, to go a little bit upstream where the fire department is exactly. We don't need to worry about how much we use in the toilet and the sinks over here in the house. But for the fire department, when they wash their cars and when they fill up their tanks and so on, we ought to know how much water is being used there. And I actually wanted to talk to you about this, and I'm doing now. If that is going to be a concern to do that, to put a water meter into the firehouse down there. Okay. So,
Heinz, you were saying that the main meter where the water comes in out of the Hudson, you said that may not be accurate.
well,
So-
here's what I'm saying. We have a water meter at a point in the pump house where we're sucking the water in. Tom feels that is a reasonably good indication of what we are using. It turns out that this hasn't been calibrated for a long time, and I had asked Tom to figure out how to get it calibrated, and in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, we're going to have somebody come in to tell them how to calibrate this. The one that is on the output side, the fined water, the finished water, that one is not accurate by design. It is just probably kind of useless because one needs a long pipe, to have the water go through there and then measure with reasonable accuracy what the actual throughput through that line is, to the big hose is. And I'm told, and I haven't personally verified it, but I'm told by the experts that this is not a good way to do it. So what I want to do is number one, I want to get this input line calibrated so we have a reasonably good idea of what we're sucking in. I want to put a water meter in the water department and see, because I think they're the biggest user, what we are pushing out, again, when we clean the tanks. I want to go to the highway departments and the firehouse and then we have some others here that are constantly running. Okay, that's one on Morden Road down there that runs every month for a few days or something like that. There's one on 308 because the water line goes under the creek. In the winter month it freezes. There's no insulation there, and they have to keep it running so that people have water running there. So I'd like to find out what all of these things are. Okay. So we're going to measure that. I then what I want to actually do is to want to develop a correlation coefficient between what we are taking in from the Hudson and what we are putting out and where it goes. And but that takes a while because we need probably at least a year's worth of data. I have gone through the data that we have here in the village with Pat Coons in Pat Coons' office. I looked at about, I would say, 6 or 8 years of data, and it is so wild that the deviations are so big. I mean, there's many months where we bill more water than we're taking out of the Hudson, you know. And
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah. But, you know,
Not if you're paying the water bill.
well, no, but all it means is that we don't really know where, you know, where the water, you know, and know anything about the accuracy of what we're measuring over here. So I want to get some system in there to see how we to get some sanity into that. And that's one of the reasons I'm not reporting how much water we produce tonight, because I'm not comfortable with the numbers. Okay.
Oh, all you can do is say what
What
you know to be. Not that it's fact, you just know to be that there was 11,091,000 gallons processed.
Yeah. And, one last thing. Tom Wallbank requested a buyout of 80 hours vacation time. And he has about a little bit over 300 hours accumulated vacation time. He has a lot of sick time accumulated, and he also has a lot of personal time.
We need a dollar amount on this in order to approve it.
It's one attached to the one I gave you.
Yeah, it's on the second page, right? I think it was 27, I'm sorry.
No,
No,
this is the one
this is the one.
You should have this one in your box as well.
2156.
Okay, so Heinz, you're going to make a motion to that
Yeah,
effect?
yeah, I want to make a motion to, okay.
Just read the total now.
Yeah, I want to make a motion to pay Tom Wallbank the accumulated vacation leave for 80 hours at a cost of $2,156.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Is that it, Heinz?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is the fire department. Everybody got the call report, correct? We had a total of 71 calls in the month of September. EMS calls were 18 in the town, 28 in the village, for a total of 46. Fire department were 15 in the town, 7 in the village, for a total of 22. And motor vehicle accident, 2 in the town, 1 in the village, for a total of 3. Year-to-date so far, we have a total of 678 calls. EMS calls, 148 in the town, 265 in the village. Fire department, 141 in the town, 83 in the village. And motor vehicle accidents, 29 in the town and 12 in the village.
Now, the town has 3 times the residents of the village, about, right?
We only provide coverage for a small portion of the town. There's 2 other fire districts that cover the town. But that's why a couple of years ago, I had identified that we didn't have call volume broken out. And, I thought it was important that we get a feel for where the response is going. And certainly when it comes to looking at the numbers for contract negotiations, it's important that we have this.
Okay.
So, with that said, 678 calls, and we still have 3 months to go, so we are probably going to far exceed what our call volume was for last year, which will be a record year. So, some might say that fire department business is good. Any questions? I did meet with Rick Dorr, the chief, and, we discussed a couple of things going forward, and, Wayne had kind of been priming us for the fact that, within the next couple of years, we're going to find another piece of equipment here. The attack truck is going to need to be placed, so Rick just kind of reinforced that with me in the conversation. In the meantime, what we're doing is maintaining it the best we can, but it's getting old. It's going to need to be replaced. So what the hope is that we're going to be able to retire a bond on one piece of equipment, and then at that time, once that bond retires, then we'll probably be in a position to go out, be in a better position to go out and replace this other piece of equipment. Talk to him about the construction of the police department, and as far as us being able to operate efficiently with the construction going on. And it used to be that the ambulance went out the front door, and then the rescue truck went out the back door. And what they did was they flip-flopped that a while back, and they have the ambulance go out the back and the rescue truck go out the front. But I said to Rick, I said, I'm really concerned. The ambulance is the vehicle that's used the most of any vehicle in the fire department. And I have had a concern because, we have construction going on there, and what were to happen if a piece of equipment that they're using in the construction was outside that doorway and broke down for some reason, and they couldn't get it out of the way. So in the meantime, the officers talked about it. They're going to put the ambulance, stage the ambulance to the front of the building again, so that there's no obstruction. And then see how it works as far as the rescue truck being behind that, because then if the rescue truck, usually they go together, but if for some reason the rescue truck had to get out, they would have to move the ambulance out the front. There's not enough room to make the swing with the rescue truck out the back. So they're going to work on it, manage it in-house and see how it all works out, and we'll go from there. The other issue I wanted to talk about was, we had said we were going to look into this health insurance, and quite frankly, I have not had the time to do anything about it yet, but, I guess you and I probably ought to sit down and talk a little bit about how we should structure this. And, my big concern, of course, is how we're going to structure it so that the person knows going in and signs that they're going to agree to some type of a payment schedule. So, we can probably do a conference call or something like that, and we ought to craft something so that we can get it to these guys. Any questions on fire department? Okay, street department, Howie?
Okay, we have been cleaning the catch basins and flushing the lines for the past month. We rented that truck, the back truck, and we put on the Warthog and cleaned out through most of the storm drain lines. We found a lot of things. We found roots growing in there. We found a Datsun mud flap. Datsun hasn't been around for a while. That's the current Nissan. Some clothing and whatever. All that was caught mainly on the tree roots that were growing into the lines. Hopefully we got most of it cleaned out. We'll find out during the next deluge, whenever that's going to happen. Mike notes here that residents are still placing debris on the catch basins, which obviously gets into the catch basins and clogs the lines quicker, so we ask that you don't put the brush and the leaves that are going to be falling down now next to the catch basins. Brush is endless, he writes here, we can't clear a street, they bring it out right behind us. And therefore the staging area for brush is full down at the highway garage, and we have to have that ground up, and Mike is getting some quotes on that. Usually only one company really gets back to us. He tries with 3 different companies, but there's only really one guy around here that is willing to bring his equipment in here and grind it up for us. Again, leaf season is almost here. Please don't block the storm drains with the leaf piles. They set the leaf box on the truck, and they're getting it ready for the season. That's the leaf box that goes on one of their trucks, and they use the vacuum to suck up the leaves when they can. A lot of times they have to use the backhoes to pick up the leaves when they get wet. Recycling the paper, Mike writes here, when recycling paper, please place the paper in a container. Wet paper is heavy and costs more for tipping. What he means by that is the last month it was raining when the newspapers were left out, which is Mother Nature. But Mike is kind of requesting you kind of cover that up so that the papers don't get so wet, as they're hard to pick up that way, and also cost more for us to get rid of them. And the highway department is doing service on the trucks and backhoes in-house, getting things ready for the winter.
That's it.
Okay. I met with Hines and Nancy Clark today. We're trying to resolve this issue down at West Market Street with the drainage problem we have there by the bagel shop. You know, we've had repeated issues of the street drains not being able to adequately handle the water. And we've come to the conclusion through a lot of hard work on Mike's part that what's happened over the years, that the drain on the south side of West Market Street, the pipe leads from that drain through that landscaped garden area that's in front of the Beekman Arms Guest House. And supposedly there's a manhole in there somewhere, but it's been covered up by all the landscaping over the years. But that pipe makes a radical drop from West Market Street. It goes down behind the Beekman Arms antique barn. And they built that parking lot basically over the top of where the pipe goes through. And from there, then it crosses from the Beekman Arms property and comes out onto the Mirabel property and comes in behind where M&T Bank is, Roberto Acevedo's property. And there's so much debris has been piled over the top. Parking lots have been built over the top. Trees have grown up in there. This pipe is just compromised. And it's such a difficult environment. The pipe in some places is probably buried 20 feet in the ground because of all of the fill that's been over the top of it. And the more I thought about it, I said, you know, not only is it a difficult situation because of how deep it is, but now we're talking dealing with 3 different property owners in order to try and work out some type of way to fix this. It's going to require us digging up that whole landscaped area by the Beekman Arms gift shop or guest house and having to put that back in. And I said, there's got to be an easier way. So I brainstormed it a little bit and decided to get Nancy Clark and Hines together. And we went over there and looked at it today. And I had come up with the idea of where the drain is on the south side of West Market Street. Run a pipe from that drain to the west towards the library. And then where the driveway goes down in behind where 40 West used to be and where, what is it, Apple Valley Realty or whatever it is in that building, right? Run it down the driveway. And Ed Kellogg is, of course, one of the principals, and I talked to him about the problems we were having. He says, do whatever you have to do. We can work the easement part of it out. That's not a problem. So I said to Nancy today, I says, it just seems to me because of the difficulty of the environment where the existing pipe is, let's just abandon it. And let's go this way and then go down in the back. And of course, the question is brought up, we all agree, look at the site plan for what was proposed for the condominiums, so that we're not going to do something, when we do this, it's something that's going to help the village, but it's also going to help the property owner, and it's not going to create a problem for us because they're going to come in and do some construction and ruin whatever we put in. So basically, that's where we're at now. I have Nancy Clark looking at this thing to try and devise something that's going to work for the village and work for them.
How big is this pipe?
How big is wood pipe?
The
one that's
proposed?
Between 12
Yeah.
and 15 inches.
The one that's
It's a big-
buried is probably
it's
around
a-
15 inches.
That's
it's a
it?
big- That's a big pipe.
So you're talking about black plastic maybe, and
Whatever Nancy recommends, but yeah, more than likely it'll all be plastic pipe.
can we,
It's just the easier way out.
since we're
And
talking
when I
about a
think
black
about-
plastic pipe,
When I
wood pipe,
think, let me finish up, Grant.
okay.
When we talk about the funding for this, then, of course, we have money in the CHIPS account that we could use to offset the cost of this, because CHIPS money can be used for drainage.
Okay.
So that's basically where we're at with it right now at this point. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I have the same concern over that area on Chestnut, is that we upgrade those 2 little pieces of 12-inch pipe that a stream actually runs through. And I don't know why we don't just do that. I mean, if we wouldn't even need an engineer. I had Brandy Nelson go out there.
Well, what I will say in that area is the problems we've had there have been on 50 and 100-year storms. We've had problems here over on West Market Street with just these storm events.
These aren't mutually exclusive. I just wanted to bring this up. I've always wanted to do
and
this, and I think we should do it.
What I'm saying right now is, that, to me, right now, this West Market Street issue is a big priority. West Market Street, or Chestnut Street, not so much a major priority.
If we
Okay,
have
I-
another 50 or 100-year storm,
The 7 or 8 people that live around there would probably disagree with you.
well,
if
I'm
they
not
were
saying
here,
they're
I
not
mean,
gonna, I'm not saying they're not gonna.
Okay.
But to look at the rain events we've had recently, have we had a problem over there on Chestnut Street? No. We've cleaned some drains out, we've cleaned the ditch out, we identified
Jim,
the problem.
it's just woefully inadequate. There's these 2 little pipes that take a stream.
I'm not saying it's not,
Okay, then why wouldn't we just put a 24-inch pipe in there?
because right now it's not a priority for me.
Okay, it's a priority for me, it's a priority for the homeowners. I mean, I think, why don't we just do it? We can do both. I mean, this isn't expensive. We would do it in-house.
I know, we talked about this, Brant and I. We also talked about taking the pipes out and going back to a ditch that was there, and apparently before that was
That's
was
what it
okay.
was. Yeah, there's been many.
Now,
many-
wait, before you go on, Heinz, these individual lots have poor grading, I understand that. But and that exacerbates the problem. That isn't the only problem. The big problem is that there's a lot of water that's coming off of Crossmore in all those areas, and it's going through these little pipes.
Well, when you and I went there, there's Lorraine on the side. The water from Lorraine runs into people's property, and it dams up, it's dammed up there. So I think it is, the problem is a little bit bigger for this neighborhood.
I
than
tried
just-
to anticipate what you were gonna say, and there's 1 or 2 homeowners, they could individually grade toward the storm system that we have. I mean, they can do that on their own. Right now, they're absolutely,
No,
they can do nothing.
When I looked at this situation, first of all, it was just a ditch, okay? And it worked. But people got concerned about it because the water stood in there, and I said, what's gonna happen to my children? I had children there, and so on. So they put 1 pipe in there, and that wasn't enough. Then they put a second, 12-inch pipes, by the way, 2 of them. Then they put a second pipe in there, and it still had the problems. Then they put a third pipe
Well,
in
no,
there.
we don't know where the third one
Yeah, I don't
starts.
think-
Well, you know where they're going. It comes.
No, the stream doesn't go through the third one. The stream
No, the
goes through
stream
the
doesn't go
2.
to the third one. That
Right,
comes right out of the
Right.
parking area of that one house. But it all empties into the same reason, okay? Then you have downstream, you have a huge, I think it's a 36-inch pipe that goes under the road,
And that's adequate.
and that's it. And then it goes down to 308. And I had asked Mike one time to take a look at this, as a matter of fact, maybe 2 months ago, and he said, well, there is a huge amount of debris in that underpass on the Route 308, that needs
Right.
to be cleaned out.
But Howie and I
I don't
work-
think that's blocking anything, though.
This, you can see where the bottleneck is when you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in the flood,
We go there when it's raining.
it's
But-
fountaining out in that one spot.
I think there is more of a problem also on Livingston Street, from Beach Street on, where the water comes down, and it all empties out into this one place where they put another pipe in there, and there is a huge
Right,
catch
but that-
basin there.
That
is-
doesn't explain the volume.
No, but
This
what
is
what I'm
2
saying
feet
is
deep.
that catch basin is laid stone with all kinds of dirt in it, and it has to be constantly cleaned out. And so when you put, what I'm saying is if you want to put a new pipe in there, and a bigger pipe, you need to replace the catch basin as well. And you need to open up the road and go under
We
the.
could replace
over
the catch
road.
basin, yeah, that's right, the one that's homemade, the one that's right on Chestnut, why wouldn't we replace that? I mean, can I propose that Howie and I meet with Mr. Matthews, and we just ask him what he thinks about this drainage area, and just see what he thinks about it, just,
It never
we'll
hurts
chat
to
with
talk
him.
to people.
Yeah, and then maybe we
Never
can
hurts
get
to
back
talk
to
to
you guys.
people. The biggest thing we have
And
to.
I'm not gonna hold this up, I appreciate what you're
The
doing with West Market Street.
biggest thing we have to consider here, all right, is that if we're gonna install something, that whatever's downstream from it is adequate to handle it. We
Okay,
can't just say we're gonna put a bigger pipe in, unless we know that the increased volume going through that bigger pipe is gonna be handled adequately downstream. That's my big
that's fair
concern.
enough.
That's my big concern.
Over the last 25 or 30 years, we have made 3 attempts to fix that problem, and it wasn't fixed correctly, and it's still not working right.
Yeah, but even you say if there's 2 12-inch pipes, that
They're
does
not-
not
they're
equal,
they're
that does not equal a
no, that's
24-inch
It's
pipe.
about half the size of a
Right.
24-inch pipe,
Right.
Not that you should use a 24-inch pipe,
No,
which is
we
big,
don't.
but-
So if you're gonna put a bigger pipe in, 24-inch pipe, we need to make damn sure that whatever's downstream is gonna work.
We'll
Because
get
otherwise
that to an open
We're just
trench.
moving a problem.
Yeah.
Right, we get to an open trench with the 24
Well, no,
inch pipe.
we shouldn't even say we're going back to an open trench.
No, he means the pipe will go into the open trench that is beyond that area,
Right.
right? By that other
Yeah,
house there.
say, we'll get it safely out
Well,
the
then
door.
then you're not talking about just digging up Chestnut Street.
No, there's another stretch, 150 feet south of Star.
And
Yeah.
that's a much bigger project than just putting a pipe underneath Chestnut Street.
Okay, well, we'll talk to Matthews and see
Yeah.
what kind of flood volume those two pipes can take, and see if we would overwhelm that.
Just for historical reasons, I looked at maps that go back to 1936 and 1955. It shows where that stream that comes down from Crossmoor and so on goes actually through the middle of the house,
Oh, yeah?
you know? And essentially what they did is they rerouted the stream to go on the side of the house. But,
You know, it's easy to say that, all right, we're just gonna dig up the street, we're gonna put a bigger pipe here.
No, we didn't mean that, just that. We were
yeah,
talking
but you have
about
to dig
going
up the street.
into the easement that's there for those.
No. If you put a bigger pipe in there on the thing, you also have to put a bigger pipe on the Chestnut.
Well, those are
That's
two
what I just
18.
said. We're
Yeah,
gonna
that's what
dig
you
up
said.
Chestnut
I don't
Street.
think that's what these,
Yeah, we're talking about that.
you talk about digging
Yeah,
up Chestnut?
that'd be good, yeah.
Yeah, all the way. To where it becomes an open ditch again.
Yeah.
Then it goes through
That's
the
not
woods.
until the other side of Star Drive.
Right, it goes through the
Right.
woods there,
Right.
then underneath Route 308.
Star Drive is good, I mean, that's a huge.
308's huge, it's like a 36 inch
Yeah.
culvert pipe.
24 inches, I think you told me.
It's bigger than that,
It's big.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
That's enough.
Planning and zoning, Terry.
So I just wanted to call your attention again to the 3 zoning changes that the zoning board is proposed. I sent those to you
Yes.
a while back. I don't have them with me, but I don't think we need to get into a discussion with them now. It's just we need to decide how we want to approach this in terms of, do we want to just hold a workshop or look at changing just these zoning laws? Or, what I'm not clear on is where we are with the fairgrounds. If we might be near some zoning
We're getting
changes there.
close.
Because it might be better just to lump all this together and do it all at once.
I think Brant probably feels the same way. I do think we're getting real close. The last item we're really discussing is the buffer zone and how big that buffer zone is going to be. And we had a meeting last week, it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And came up with a proposal. Nothing's etched in stone. And I think what I would like to see is before we have some type of workshop meetings first, all right? Not just go to public hearing, all right? Have some type of workshop meeting. Once we have a proposed document for the fairgrounds, proposed zoning changes that Francois has suggested, we have some type of workshop meeting, give people the opportunity to come in and hear about it and make comments and things like that, and take that input, and then move on to a public hearing after that. I'm confident, and I don't know how you feel, Brent, but I'm confident within the next couple months, I think we're going to be pretty much done with this fairgrounds.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get something from the events code. Do you have an update on?
I haven't gotten anything recently from John, but he said he figured they'd be done October, November,
Okay,
So
great.
it should be coming up pretty quick. So I think, over the winter, we're going to be in a position to really address all these issues.
All right, so we should just add this into the mix.
And Bob had a few, Bob Fennell had
And Bob has a couple
Yeah.
of suggestions about a few things, too, that we should throw into the mix
And
as well.
that's the thing I've been trying to stress with Bob and with Francois, and let's do as much as we can at once, because that's going to be one amendment to the code, as opposed to doing multiple amendments.
Okay, I don't have anything else, unless anybody has any questions.
So, can I just ask you a question? This is what the zoning board recommends, obviously?
Yeah, these are
And
things
then-
that have been like complications for them for many, many years. They keep running up against, kind of issues where these create problems in them making a determination, or they feel like they're somewhat vague, or they create other issues. So they've been talking about these for 3 years, 4 years, probably longer. I think at one time, even before I was around, there was actually a commission that was put in place, or a committee that was put in place to study this, and, is that right? There was a committee one time to study all the zoning laws. Yeah, so, I think these go back a long way.
Okay.
There was a zoning commission prior to me being on the board. There was a zoning commission when I got on the board. And, it's always gotten to a point, a lot got done, but it it always lost its momentum, it never really continued, and we had to keep reviving it, you
Right.
know? So it's good that it's coming up again.
Yeah.
You know?
Or just these came up more on a basis of happening more than once.
Mhm.
And we dealt with several times, the law was very fuzzy. Our decisions were based on the laws as written, and we see the requirements that we created.
Mhm.
That's why the
Yep.
regulation had to change.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Police and court, everybody got the incident report, correct? Things have been busy. Nothing major, thank God, but things have been busy. For about a year now, Pete has been working to put some additional information into the policies and procedures handbook for the police department. And of course, anytime that we want to do things like this, there has to be an agreement with Jack Rogers and the union for all of these things. And basically, it's policies and procedures that address photo identification guidelines, the license plate reader, which we added, there was nothing in there about that. E-justice operation policy, lineup procedure guidelines, and photo identification guidelines. Rich has reviewed all of this. Jack has come to an agreement on it, so it's just a matter of us voting to approve that these things can be added to the policies and procedures manual. So I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Does anybody have any thoughts on it, any discussion? You know, it's pretty much standard operating procedure for
We've
police
had copies
departments.
of these for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
reviewed that a while.
It's been going on for over a year.
Yeah, it looks
Jack-
fine.
Jack never really got back to us on it, and I keep nudging Pete on it, so finally, everybody came to an agreement. We have a motion and a second, then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Dog report. We have, for the month of August, police were called because of 2 dogs in a van that were left in a van behind the CVS. One dog got out of a window and was barking at people passing by. Police were looking for the owner of the van, and 8:05, police called about a man that got bit by a dog at the Dutch Reformed Church. The dog is a service dog and must have felt threatened. No charges were made. 8:28. Roxanne, I can't really make out the name, made a complaint about a dog barking a lot, and he gave the owner of the barking dog a warning. Tree Commission, we already did. Website, anybody have anything on website? No? Finance and controls, Brant, you got anything?
We'll have, like a summary memo in a couple of weeks for you,
Okay.
for you guys.
Other business, RDA training, Lisa, that must be you.
That was me. RDA is the accounting program that we have. I've talked to, in talking with Gail, she's going to be in tomorrow, see if it's not budgeted. It's, one-day training, $1,000, goes through basically the whole computer program, show me start to finish, everything that it can do, because we don't really know everything that it can do, or what some things are actually in the program. But it's not budgeted because I'm new, so it's a new thing. So Gail's going to go through with me to see if we figure out where in the clerk treasurer, we can find somewhere in the budget that we can take the money from. Maybe fees, not employees. But we're going to go through the past few years to see what was spent and what was left at the end of the year. that
So
was
RDA would
transferred
come
over.
here and work with you for
Actually,
a day, or you would have to go to a
webinar.
training? It's a webinar?
It's a webinar. So
Alright.
they actually would take control of my computer, and we'd go through it together
Okay.
that way. But I wanted to bring it up to you so that you're aware of it, and if it might be approved, if we can figure out the financing for it.
Sure. I don't have any problem with it. You guys?
Thank you.
Okay, correspondence. September 5th, we had received a letter from Donna and Per Paulson up on Montgomery Street about a sidewalk in front of their house, and it was defective, and it says one of the concrete slab is moving up, causing the sidewalk to be uneven. Has anybody gone up there and looked at this?
Yeah, I looked at it.
So did I. I don't see any tree damage, do you?
No. The tree is, there is a tree there, but it's kind of far away from it. It's
Well,
not,
there are two slabs that are adjacent to the tree. There's
Yeah.
no problems with it.
right.
There's a slab that's away from the tree that seems to me has settled.
Mhm.
I don't see any upheaval of the
No,
other
there's
two,
no,
do you?
there's no
So I
cracked or
I don't
concrete or
think-
anything.
I don't think this is a village issue.
Yeah. I don't think
I
so.
think it's their responsibility to take care of. Have you guys gone up there and looked at it?
No, I haven't.
I mean, that's my impression from looking at it. It's definitely not caused by a tree problem.
What's the address again?
6455 Montgomery. It's up by the church.
Right.
Across from the church. You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, I'm happy to take a look, give you my opinion.
All right. We have a request from Varsity Swim Team Booster Club for a coin drop. They want to hold this on October 20th and 21st, planned in front of the M&T Bank as well as on East Market Street in front of the municipal parking lot, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. They had done a coin drop last year, the swim booster people, but it wasn't on the same date. This is Sheep and Wool weekend. So I talked to Pete about it, and Pete says that he will sign off on it with the condition that if they cause a backup of traffic, that the police will ask them to step out of the street. He doesn't need the traffic to be tied up any more than what the lights are going to do. So as long as this board approves with that condition, Pete says he's okay with it.
How
So
many
I-
coin drops do we have here?
I don't know. I don't
Lots-
count
lots
it.
of them.
There's a few of them.
Three, I think this is the fourth one, isn't it?
Well, the Legion does one, Lions Club does one,
Fire department.
Fire Department does one. This one. That's all I can think of right now.
Yeah, I think that's it.
But I'll make a motion to approve this with the condition. Is there a second?
Second, with the conditions.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. You can call her and let her know that, Lisa, please. All right. And, just state that if there is a problem with traffic backing up, that the police will ask them to vacate the street.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Howie, I think this is an old one. This was the same day.
Yeah, I went to see him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're all set on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. We had gotten a email from a Landmark Dividend Company. And apparently they do something about acquiring telecom and billboard leases. Did you see that, Brant?
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, I just would defer to you on it.
Yeah, I know a lot about that.
Hire Kimball.
I'll talk to Lisa about that later. Yeah.
Community Action sent us their annual appeal letter. We have not participated in Community Action for a couple of years because they receive money from the town, and our taxpayers would be in, for a while, the village board was also contributing, so our taxpayers were paying twice.
Yeah.
So several years ago, we had eliminated this. So just as information is that they sent us a letter again, and I believe we want to decline again, right? Okay. Rhinebeck Chamber of Commerce has designated Sunday, November 25th as the day they would like to light the tree in the Rhinebeck Bank Plaza parking lot. It will take place at approximately 5:30. Beginning at 3 p.m., various organizations will have tables in the plaza and be offering different activities and goods. Lenny Miller and the Gentle Giants 4-H Club will be doing wagon rides, weather permitting. Little Creek Band will be playing, as well as other local singing groups. Local fire departments, law enforcement, civic organizations are participating. Parade will begin around 5 with a lineup at Mulberry Street and ending in the bank lot, so they need our permission to close down the street briefly while the parade comes down from Mulberry Street. So I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. We had gotten a letter from the Elks Lodge. Rhinebeck Red Hook Elks Lodge is inviting you to attend a meeting at our lodge to discuss what the Elks offer to students in our community. These programs include drug awareness, Americanism, sports activities, and scholarships. There have been some misunderstandings about these programs in the past. We would like to discuss these programs with you and the school personnel. We will explain what we offer and how we can work together with the schools to promote these programs with our community. Meeting will be held on October 20th, starting at 12 noon. There's a luncheon included for those attending. Please call by October 12th to make arrangements. I am working that day. I'm unable to attend. Is there a board member that would like to participate in that?
That's a Saturday?
It's a Saturday, October 20th.
I think I have something to do, I'm not sure. If I'm not doing anything, I'll go.
I'd have to
But I
look into
can't,
it.
I
I'd have
can't
to-
commit right now.
Yeah, I can't commit now.
All right, well, I'll give this letter to you.
Okay.
All right? And maybe one of you guys can take a look, and if you can go, respond to them. All right, and then Halloween, those folks that had been here and talked to us prior, they have asked if I could be a potential judge for the parade. And again, the day that they're having this, I'm already scheduled to work. So is there a board member who would be interested in being a judge for the Halloween parade? And that
When is
is... Date on here?
Your first duty is deputy mayor.
It's probably the same day as this thing, October 20th.
Is it the dog parade or the kids parade?
Yeah, that's a dog parade.
It's going to be from about, you need to be on hand from about 12:15 until 1:30 PM.
What's the date?
Get my calendar here. 27th. Yes?
I'll go here, you go to the Halloween parade. Or you.
What about vice versa? We'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about this.
All right, I'm going to respond that, you want to respond?
Yeah,
I'll let her know one of you guys is going to respond.
okay.
Okay. And we have a letter from, I think it's Nielsen Minter and Stephen Minter at 45 Livingston Street regarding a sidewalk problem. We just received this letter. It's dated October 5th. I went and looked at this one today. Definitely a tree issue. The problem is that now the stone probably was heaved, the tree root's sticking up like that. And they've taken the stone, I think they did this, and they've kind of like rotated it, but it's still projecting into the sidewalk area. It looks like they put a couple of reflective pieces of tape on it so people could see it, but it's a big, big problem. Big street tree right there, huge roots.
It's on the corner.
No, it's not on the
No?
corner. No.
I thought there's Minton. That's their last name,
Minton or
right?
Mintor,
Minton.
I'm not sure, I can't really make it out, but it's not, it's on the north side of Livingston Street. It's not, the sidewalk issue isn't at the corner,
Oh, no, but the house is on the corner.
that could be.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest with you, I didn't really pay
Okay.
attention to whether
Okay.
it was the last house or not. I was just looking at the
Okay.
problem. So
So
it definitely
what do we do
needs,
now?
definitely needs to be looked at and taken care of,
Okay.
all right? 'Cause
That's
basically
Terry,
what
right?
you
Your
have now-
sidewalk commissioner?
Oh, yeah,
Right.
right. That's my
Right now, what you have the sidewalk like this, and you have the tree, and then these huge roots are going through this way, and the stone is sitting just like this.
And the roots are still out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is a walkway that goes into their house. I went and looked at it this afternoon.
Okay.
So, tree commission needs to be involved here. And we need to try and take a look at this thing quickly.
Well, you only start with that, have them look at it.
The tree commission?
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
that?
Why don't we start there and have the
Yeah.
tree commission look at it, and let's
Yeah.
get their input.
I mean, to me, these are major tree roots. Yeah, I don't think pruning's an option on the
You
tree
can't
roots.
cut them.
So either the sidewalk's gotta be rerouted or the tree's gotta come down, is what I'm looking at. Okay?
Okay. I can't do this Halloween parade now or this Elks Club thing.
All right, that's all I have for correspondence. You got anything else?
Did you get that one? Didn't I give that one to you? You should have a copy of it.
Yeah, that's the one I asked Howie about. He's already talked to
Yeah, we're gonna have Central Hudson take care of that one.
Okay.
Mike and I looked at it.
That was just about the, that you should have had that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I forgot to mention that. DOT approved our no parking here at the corner and signs and all of that, so I gotta get with Mike and give him the locations and mark it out, and get those installed.
That's it then.
Anybody else have any other correspondence?
What was that one email we got from the advertising company in New York City that wanted to do that campaign for their,
Oh, the creativity, the one you asked me about
Yeah.
today, Jim.
Yeah, Lisa had asked them to provide us with more information, details about what they wanted to do, and we haven't heard anything from them.
Okay.
And it was the same thing that Sasha Springer was the name, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was about some type of movie filming, and we didn't have enough information, and they never provided us with anything more, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that Momo, whatever it was, right, was the one, was that the one?
That was the creativity.
That was the
one.
creativity one, yeah. Okay. Water and sewer adjustments. Want to do them? That's your department.
I have none, I was told. We already did them.
These are, right?
Yeah, but we already did them.
Oh, they're already taken care of?
That's what
Yeah.
Pat told me.
Well, we're supposed to approve them.
The
Well, no, they shouldn't have been-
$7.50?
I don't know if they've been done.
Well, I think the only one that hasn't been done here is actually a big one. It's $506, and that is one of
Well,
the,
what procedure is on these, anytime there's a credit or a debit memo to any of the village accounts, at the board
Yeah.
meeting, it has to be read, and then the board has to
Okay.
approve it,
okay.
okay?
I had initialed the first two here. And the second one is a $500 adjustment, and that is one of the things I talked about before, where the people that have to let the water run, in that case on Montgomery Street because of turbidity. And, you know, we apparently, we as a board have given them over the years, you know, told them they just have to pay the minimum price, the minimum quarterly price, which is $54. And actually, the bill here was over $600. And I assume I have to approve it this time, but I want to talk to the people, I think their name is Fox, and see what is happening there. Apparently, Tom Walbank told me that he had installed a system that periodically cleans the water pipe out. It's not just for this property, there's 2 or 3 properties further down the road. Milstein, I believe, is one of them. And
So this is down on Morton Road.
it's all on Morton Road, yeah. And, you know, so I got to really figure out what is going on over there. And I haven't gotten to that yet. So for the time being, we just have to approve it. The other two, the first one had to do with somebody sent a check in. They were on vacation, sent a check in, they didn't sign the check, and so, you know, we approved that.
So typically, how we would handle these, Heinz, is you
Yeah.
would say, all right, there's a credit memo for $7.50,
Okay.
waiving a penalty fee.
Okay,
So you read through all of them, basically giving a description of the dollar amount and what they are,
okay,
and then the board votes to approve them.
okay. I don't know what the others are, I really don't know. I have to talk to Pat,
Okay,
I don't know.
all right. So we won't approve these right now. Okay, minutes. We have minutes from the August 14th board meeting. Anybody have any additions, omissions, or corrections? I did have one, and that was underneath the trustee appointment. It says Mayor Reardon will be liaison for police department. I already was. It should be fire department.
Oh,
I took
okay.
over for Wayne as liaison to fire department. That's all I got on that one. Anybody else have anything else? Need a motion to approve the August 14th minutes?
I move that we approve them.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
Good job, Heinz. All right, September 11th. Any additions, omissions, or corrections to those? I don't have anything.
On the tree commission, welcome John Wexler. I know his last name is spelled wrong here, I'm not sure how you.
Okay.
Wechsler, I believe.
Yeah,
WEC, okay.
It's pronounced Wexler,
And then,
it's W-E-C-H.
right, and his first name is Jon.
J-O-N, okay.
Anything else?
No,
Okay, motion to approve September 11th minutes.
second. So
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Special meeting September 20th. Any additions, omissions, or corrections there?
Did you,
No, we haven't changed it because Jim said you should make the changes to it
Here.
here.
Yeah, any changes should be discussed
just
here.
here? Okay.
So I have your changes.
I do it for memory.
Heinz had some edits for it, so.
The issue, a couple of issues I had, number one, I wanted to take one of the sentences out. I talked about $2,000 for the gate as far as the water plant fencing is concerned. That was just sort of a comment when somebody asked me, it's about 2,000, I wasn't really sure. So, it should be superseded by the cost of the total fence. It shouldn't be just for the gate. So I would like to delete that. The other one had to do with the security system, where it was written that the maintenance fee was $1,000 less than prior to it, but it was really the cost of the installation was $1,000 less. Not the yearly maintenance fee. The yearly maintenance fee is about $300.
That's it, right?
That's it.
Okay, so with those corrections, I need a motion to approve the September 20th board meeting minutes.
I move we approve them with the changes.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. September 27th, special meeting. Did you talk to Ed Kellogg about that? I thought I had said I.
No, I didn't talk to him.
Yeah,
Is that you?
yeah, that was me.
Okay.
Okay, so a motion to approve the September 27th minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. And I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Okay. I saw that one thing, so, the tax,